everybody, and welcome to our webinar. Today, I am proud to introduce our therapist and coach at 360 Wellness Hub, Shuen Lim. Shuen Lim has got a very long and distinguished career as a trainer, as a therapist, as a coach. So without further ado, Shuen, I'm just going to ask you, how long have you been a certified hypnotherapist?
Quite a fair while, since about 2010.
Oh, okay. That's quite a while already. Yeah,
Yes.
more than 12 years, right? Yeah. And besides hypnotherapy, what kind of other training have you undergone?
Okay, I actually started out before hypnotherapy I did neurosomatics, and before that when I was living in Dubai, I was introduced to NLP by my friend Beryl, and that was in the 1990s. So it goes quite a way back when, from what I gather, NLP was in its infancy.
Yeah, back in 1990s, NLP was really in its
Yeah.
infancy. So you started your, your journey as a therapist in Dubai, right?
Yes, no, I just learned it for myself, not as a therapist, but actually for myself, because I was very curious, and I thought, oh, that's something interesting to, for self-betterment, self-improvement. So I did that, and then after that, when you learn something, you want to know more, and you get more interested, so you sort of go on, and then the next thing came along. I learned neurosomatics. After that, then I learned hypnotherapy. Then, I went on to a few other things like, sleep talk, Hypnodontics, the various discipline, tapping and all that.
Yeah, I know that you have learned from many different mentors, yes, and you have learned from many other different coaches and all that, which is amazing. And your background in this has been really interesting. What is the most, coming back to hypnotherapy, what is the most challenging part as a therapist for you in the hypnotic process?
Okay, I think it varies from client to client, depending on how they respond. But generally, getting them to relax, because especially the first time, and they're not comfortable with you as a person, even though they say you are. But it's natural, human. The first time you meet a person, regardless of how well your rapport is, to surrender yourself, your subconscious self, to another person.
Yeah, we're always talking about rapport, isn't it, when it comes to hypnotherapy, and being able to create that rapport with the client. Yeah. So which is the most challenging part then? Usually, like you said, it depends on the client. And some client, maybe you need to talk to them, calm them down before you even do any induction or anything like that, right?
Yeah, I think getting them into a very deep trance would be a challenge, because because they will, especially the first time they're experiencing, they will really fight it. Some of them they fight to be not to follow what your suggestion is, and so it takes a while.
So maybe you can explain to our audience a little bit what is the process of the the 5-step process of the hypnotic, the hypnotic process.
Yeah. So we basically begin building rapport, like we mentioned earlier, and then asking the client what is the objective of wanting the session, and what do they want to get out of it, whether it's realistic or not, and it's achievable. And then I will explain to them what is the process of hypnotherapy. And hypnotherapy is actually basically, to put it in a more up-to-date word, would be being zoned out.
Yeah, that's a very good word to describe it.
Yeah, especially if you're a daydreamer, you zone out all the time, and you're in this other world, and everything else you don't hear, and you just focus on what you're thinking, you're daydreaming about, everything else you don't hear. And as if somebody calls you, you don't hear because you're so into yourself, so inner focus. Yes.
So it's about the focal attention, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Interesting. Can you share with us your most memorable hypnotic case? Of course, we know that confidentiality and all that is involved, but just in general, what was your most memorable case that you've handled?
This is when I first started out doing hypnotherapy as a profession. That time I was working full time, but I would see some clients over the weekend. Just to bring myself up to speed and get some hands-on experience. And this client came in and she said she wanted to do past life regression.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was like, okay. Past life regression, you're talking about going to not this life, but to another life before, just to share a bit. And so I said, okay, let's do, and what was her objective? She said, maybe her past life has some impact on the current life and it was not going well. So, I took her back and everything went well. And then suddenly she started crying, oh, I'm in pain. Somebody is hitting me. So I was not prepared for that. I was prepared.
So she went into an immediate regression into a time when someone was hitting her, right?
Yeah. So I was prepared for everything, but for crying and all this, but I was not prepared for her being beaten by somebody. And she said, so I asked her to describe, and she said, yeah, she's in the room, and she said, oh, it's so painful. I could see her whole physiology changing, and then I said, do you want to stay on or do you want to come out? So she said, I would like to come out. So we got her out and we ended the session. But yeah, it took me by surprise because that was not something I was expected. So it sort of stuck in my mind.
But even though they have this kind of, in some ways traumatic experience when they do regression, but when they come out of it, it's kind of like a cathartic release, isn't it? Like they actually feel better having gone through and relieved that trauma in a more meaningful and more empowering way, right?
Yes, she came out of it and she was a lot calmer and we spoke a bit. So yeah, of course, it was her first session, so she was not going to share too much. But you could see it. Her brain was working, the thought process was moving. It was all happening internally. The digestion of it, the processing of it, the emotion, the physiology. You could see the change.
That is so interesting. Yeah. I remember I have a very memorable case as well, similar to what yours was. I have a client and she has been experiencing this chronic pain in her shoulder blade as far back as she could remember. Even when she was young, she remember, intermittently having this pain. And she's, the parents and herself, they've seen many different doctors, they've seen physiotherapists, chiropractor, pain management people. She has taken all sorts of pain management medication and everything to sometimes curb the pain, because sometimes the pain can be so bad that she couldn't sleep, right? So like always, hypnotherapy was one of the last resort for her, and so she came and see me, and we did a hypnotic session, and then she went into this regression where she was a soldier, and the way that she died in that life was when someone speared her in that exact location where she felt this pain, right? So it must be some, like in hypnotherapy, we don't assume whether it's real or not, but it's just something that the mind is thinking. And we do know that, trauma can be transferred for 3 generations. So maybe it's some sort of traumatic experience that maybe not hers, but maybe it's from somewhere in her genetic makeup and all that, or in her memory. But anyway, what was interesting was that we did, of course, we did, we did the observer, we did do the disassociation. We did the disassociation, then brought her back to the present. And then when she came back into the present, the pain was gone. And it was like, kind of like magical. So,
Yes.
sometimes hypnotherapy is like that, isn't it? They
Yes,
really surprise
very
us.
much so. Yes,
Yeah.
very much so. Yeah.
And I just want to add that not all hypnotherapy is about regression, right?
Yes, that's right. Do others as well, grieving. Somebody had to give up her cat.
Yeah.
And
I think
about
hypnotherapy
letting
is,
go.
I think
letting go.
hypnotherapy is really good with those people who need to let go of something, whether it's a
Yes.
relationship or a pet who has passed on, or a person who has passed on. I think
Yes.
it really helps with the grief and loss.
That's right. That's
Mm.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. The pet one was very interesting.
Yes, it was very interesting. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Oh, this is the client's a lady, and she had this. She loves cat, and she has a couple, but there was one that has been with her for forever, and it's really old, and it needed a lot of care. It was it couldn't eat, so she had to inject, rehydrate. I think it was the cat couldn't pee or something, so she had to inject.
Kidney issues, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. She had to give her injection. Then feeding problem, it wouldn't eat and all this, and the vet said actually you should put your cat away to be kind, but she's so attached to the cat. She was having problems letting go.
A lot of pet lovers are like that.
Yes.
They get so attached to their animals, and their animals is like a family member, right?
Yeah.
And then the thought of just letting go can be quite difficult, and I think as a hypnotherapist, you must have helped a lot of cases like that, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
And okay, now we come back to talking about how you use hypnosis. How do you apply self-hypnosis to your own personal care?
Oh, okay.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, I did hypnosis because I experienced it. When I had a lot of pain, at one stage it was so bad, the pain. I could only lie on my tummy. I couldn't stand. I couldn't sit, and the only position I could find comfort was to lie on my tummy.
Was there any reason for that?
It took a long time, but eventually, at first the doctor thought I was a bit cranky because they couldn't find anything wrong. It went on for months. It was so bad I couldn't walk and all that. And eventually we found out that I had what we call the Tarlov cyst, which is a cyst in the lower spine, really low. And so we went. If you remember the show House, you see a lot of doctors, specialists to figure out what it is, how to cure it. So I went through that, and in the end, a decision was not to have the surgery. The surgery may be a success, but post-surgery life may not be so great. So being chicken heart, I made the decision not to. So you had to go on tablets, painkillers, and you had to go on very, very strong painkillers 24/7 to enable me to sit and lead a normal life. So I thought, that's not how I want to be, to be dependent on drugs. And so at that time I also went to sign up for a neurosomatics course. And I was sharing it with the instructor. Then he says, okay. And about 3 days into the course, he did a hypnotherapy session for me. Yeah, he said, I didn't want to do it earlier, but the third day would be he felt it was the right time. And it took me quite a long session, a lot of dissociation. whole lot of stuff, which I rather not remember because it's something I want to move on.
Yeah,
with you don't want to dwell on it, and so that was done, and I thought nothing of it, because like you said earlier, you do hypnotherapy as the last resort. So I said, okay, there's no harm doing it, so I just left it as that. But slowly I found that actually it helped with the pain. And then I do auto suggestion, the one Emile Coué,
yes,
the French psychologist. His best quote is, every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. And I use that a lot, and I found that really, really helped.
Yeah, auto-suggestion is really powerful in reprogramming the mind, right? Yeah.
It really works with your subconscious. And it took a while. It's not magic. It takes a while. And I think about a year, I was off the painkillers.
Fantastic. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I strongly believe in hypnotherapy and how it works on the subconscious mind.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much, Shuen,
my pleasure.
For this sharing. Is there anything else that you would like to say to the audience before we end this session?
I think it is coming out, except saying that you did hypnotherapy is nothing to be ashamed of, and it takes you out of a comfort zone. And a lot of people are hesitant because you're really coming out of a comfort zone and finding out about yourself. And because when you talk to your therapist, you need to say some things that which is could be your weak point, or things that you don't want to talk about, which you swept under the carpet. And it is talking about bringing all this emotion up, and that takes you really out of your comfort zone. And a lot of people are uncomfortable, but that's okay. There's always
there shouldn't be any stigmatization on anything, right? Yeah. And I think also, I think what a lot of people might not understand is that hypnotherapy is actually the only modality that actually treats, the unconscious and the subconscious mind. Yeah. The rest of it, even psychotherapy is more about the frontal cortex. It's more about the conscious mind. It's more about engaging with the conscious mind. But there is no other. If the problem lies in your autonomous system or your nervous system, or it lies in your mind, there is no other treatment for that, or no other way that we could address it other than hypnotherapy.
That's right, you said it so well, Lenny.
Thank you. All right, on that note, thank you so much for being with us, Shuen, and for sharing this. Thank you very much.
Bye.